You won't believe what happened to Shackleton's crew. Every survival expert says it was impossible, yet they lived. There are moments in history where a single decision decides who lives and who dies. Moments where nature shows no mercy. The only thing keeping a group alive is the will of one man. This is one of those moments. A story so extreme, so impossible, that even today, survival experts struggle to understand how anyone walked out alive. It began with a goal that sounded heroic, a team wanting to cross the coldest, deadliest continent on Earth. But what followed was far beyond a failed mission. It became a fight against crushing ice, endless darkness, and a sea that swallowed entire ships like toys. At the center of it all was a leader who refused to let his men die, even when the world believed they were already gone. This isn't just another survival story. This is the closest anyone has come to beating nature itself. On November 4th, 1914, the ship Endurance cut through stormy seas, carrying 28 men on a mission no one had ever attempted. Led by Sir Ernest Shackleton, they aimed to walk across Antarctica, a continent so hostile that even modern explorers struggled to survive its brutal 50°C temperatures. There were no GPS devices, no satellite phones, no modern gear, only determination, maps, and the courage of men willing to risk everything. Their plan was simple on paper: land at the edge of the Weddell Sea, trek across 2,900 kilometers to the Ross Sea, and make history. But nature had other plans. By December, heavy ice in the Weddell Sea began to challenge their every move. What seemed like a daring adventure was about to turn into a fight for survival that would test every ounce of skill, courage, and endurance they possessed. By January 18, 1915, the Endurance was no longer sailing. It was frozen in place, trapped in the thick, unyielding ice of the Weddell Sea. For weeks, the crew tried everything to break free: tools, engines, sheer force, but the ice wouldn't budge. Worse, the drifting ice carried them farther from their goal, leaving the shores of Vassal Bay tantalizingly out of reach. Winter was approaching, bringing 24 hours of darkness and temperatures that made breathing painful. Snowstorms battered the ship, and the ice around them grew thicker, threatening to crush the wooden hull like a fragile toy. Every day, the pressure increased. Cracks began to appear. The dream of crossing Antarctica was slipping away. Survival was becoming the only mission. Shackleton knew that staying aboard a slowly dying ship meant certain death. But leaving the Endurance meant stepping into a frozen wilderness with nothing but hope and courage. By late October 1915, the Endurance could no longer withstand the crushing weight of the ice. One massive ice block smashed against the ship, breaking the stern and flooding it faster than the pumps could handle. Shackleton made the impossible decision. The crew had to leave their home, their mission, everything they had known, and step onto the drifting ice. For over 9 months, the ship had been their world. Now, it was gone. They salvaged what they could: 3 small lifeboats, a sledge, a month's food, and a few personal items. Every step onto the ice was a step into uncertainty. Alone, with no radio, no rescue, and no way to contact the outside world, every day would test their strength, courage, and sanity. And yet, Shackleton's focus was unwavering: get his men to land alive. With the Endurance gone, Shackleton and his crew faced a new challenge: crossing a vast, shifting ice sheet to reach the nearest land, Paulet Island, over 550 kilometers away. Each man could carry only 2 pounds of supplies, forcing them to leave behind personal belongings, gold coins, and even photographer Frank Hurley's precious negatives. They relied on sledges and small lifeboats, pulling tons of equipment across ice that was soft in places, treacherous in others. Summer thaw made the journey slower and more dangerous. Food was scarce, water harder to find. Every step could be their last. Yet Shackleton kept morale high, carefully rationing food and hiding the severity of shortages. Hunting seals and penguins became their lifeline. Mental strength, more than anything, became their true weapon against despair. Every day they fought not just the cold, but the fear of the unknown, relying on sheer determination to survive. Weeks passed on the drifting ice. Slowly, the first signs of land appeared. Clarence Island, just 83 kilometers to the north. Hope surged through the crew, but the Antarctic was not done testing them. The wind shifted constantly. Ice cracked under their feet. Freezing water threatened to sweep them away. One crew member, fireman Ernie Holness, fell into the icy sea, teetering on the edge of hypothermia. Shackleton's quick thinking forced him to keep moving, using body heat and relentless motion to save him. The ice sheet itself was unreliable, shrinking and splitting under their weight, forcing the men into lifeboats and long, exhausting rows through open, freezing waters. Every wave, every gust of wind could end their lives. Yet inch by inch, day by day, the promise of solid land kept them pushing forward, their courage refusing to yield to the cold and chaos surrounding them. On April 15, 1916, after 497 days of unimaginable struggle, Shackleton and his crew finally set foot on solid ground, Elephant Island. To them, this barren, rocky outcrop felt like heaven. But relief was short-lived. The island was uninhabited, no supplies, no shelter, and no way to contact the outside world. Food and fresh water were nearly gone. Their bodies were battered from months of cold, hunger, and exhaustion. Shackleton knew survival depended not just on physical endurance, but on leadership and mental resilience. He organized the men, rationed food, and set up a camp from overturned lifeboats. Every morning, a small ritual kept hope alive, climbing the hills to watch the horizon, waiting for a sign of rescue. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and yet their unbreakable will refused to let despair take hold. With 22 men stranded on Elephant Island, Shackleton made a decision that would define his legend. He could not wait for rescue. He had to take action. On April 24, 1916, Shackleton set out with a small team of 5 in a tiny lifeboat, facing the infamous Drake Passage, the world's most dangerous stretch of water. Waves rose like walls. Freezing winds whipped the sea. The boat was constantly at risk of capsizing. They took turns rowing for hours, often drenched, exhausted, and barely able to eat in the cramped space. The winter darkness of Antarctica allowed only a few precious hours of sunlight each day, crucial for navigation. For 3 grueling weeks, they fought the relentless ocean, pushing their bodies and minds to the edge. Every moment was a battle between life and death, yet Shackleton's unyielding determination kept them going. And finally, after unimaginable struggle, they spotted South Georgia Island, just miles away. Reaching South Georgia Island was only the beginning of another impossible challenge. Shackleton, Worsley, and Crean faced towering, snow-covered mountains, cliffs, and hidden crevasses, terrain no human had ever crossed. Their boat could go no further, so they abandoned it and began the climb on foot, carrying only the essentials. Knee-deep snow slowed every step. Fog cut their vision to mere feet. Wind bit through their clothes. Every slope, every hidden crevasse could end their journey. They climbed mountains, descended into deep valleys, and retraced their steps when paths led to dead ends. Exhaustion gnawed at their strength, fingers and toes numb, muscles screaming, lungs burning with every breath. They pressed on, tied together for safety, cutting stairs into the ice where needed. Each step was a battle between life and death. After 36 relentless hours, the fog parted, revealing Stromness whaling station, solid ground, human life, and hope at last. Shackleton had done what no one thought possible. He had crossed South Georgia Island on foot. After reaching Stromness whaling station, Shackleton wasted no time. He had 22 men stranded on Elephant Island, and he couldn't wait for rescue. Winter was approaching, and supplies were running out. For months he tried, but icy seas and dense ice blocked every attempt. On August 25, 1916, aboard the ship Yelcho, Shackleton made one final attempt. Waves crashed, winds howled, and ice threatened to crush the ship at every turn. Would the men still be alive? Would the ship make it through the frozen waters? On August 30th, the answer came. Shackleton reached Elephant Island. The moment the crew saw him, disbelief turned into overwhelming joy. Tears, laughter, and embraces erupted across the rocky shore. Every single man had survived, enduring cold, hunger, and isolation for months, driven by faith in their captain and the unbreakable human spirit. Shackleton had left with 27 men and returned with all 27 alive. A feat of leadership, courage, and determination that would be remembered as one of the greatest survival stories in human history. Shackleton's journey didn't end with survival. It became a legend of courage, leadership, and human endurance. Over a century later, in 2022, researchers discovered Endurance, 10,000 feet below the Weddell Sea. The ship lay perfectly preserved, frozen in the Antarctic ice, untouched by decay, as if time itself had paused. Modern explorers stared in awe at the wooden hull, imagining the struggles Shackleton and his men faced. From months drifting on ice sheets, to rowing across the deadly Drake Passage, to climbing uncharted mountains, every step had been a fight against impossible odds. Shackleton's story continues to inspire, a testament to human courage, resilience, and the power of never giving up, no matter how impossible the journey may seem. The frozen wreck of Endurance remains a silent reminder. Even in the harshest places on Earth, the human spirit can triumph. Shackleton faced freezing nights, crushing ice, and endless storms, and still, he never gave up. He guided his men through 522 days of unimaginable hardship, proving that courage, teamwork, and determination can overcome even the harshest trials. Every frozen mile they crossed, every stormy night they survived, reminds us of one simple truth. The human spirit can triumph when we refuse to quit. Their story isn't just adventure, it's resilience, hope, and leadership under pressure. If Shackleton could face the impossible, so can we. Whatever challenges lie ahead, remember, each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. If this story inspired you, share it, and carry its lesson with you. Keep exploring, keep learning, and never underestimate the strength within you.